good way to navigate up there in the fog. And when we were in convoy, because of the fog, we would have frequent collisions. The collisions usually were not bad collisions, but the ships would hit each other in the fog and in the dark very frequently. When we got into submarine action, everybody on the ship would be locked up inside the ship except those on the guns or on the bridge. So we couldn't see what was going on because we couldn't look out. All we would hear is a lot of boom, boom, booms. And we wouldn't know what's going on out there.
So you guys had depth charges, didn't you?
We had depth charges, but we didn't have sonar gear, so we really had no use for our depth charges.
You just randomly push it out.
They were called K guns, and they had a charge on them, and they would throw them up in the air, and then they would land about 50 yards away from the ship, or behind the ship.
Were they set for specific depth? Did you dial in a depth?
Yeah, you could set the depth that they would explode at. And the depth charge looks like a little barrel, and they weigh about 50 pounds, and they're full of dynamite. And we also had 2 cannons. They were 3-inch cannons, one on the bow and one on the stern. And we had 4 anti-aircraft guns, 20-millimeter anti-aircraft guns. And they were always jamming. The guys had training to shoot them, but they would put a drum of 20-millimeter anti-aircraft shells in, and the drum would contain about 20 shells, but after shooting about 10, the gun would jam. And about every third shell was a flare shell, so you could see where they were going. We would frequently have target practice. An airplane would pull a target behind it, and then we would shoot at the target, not at the airplane.
God, that pilot must have been nervous. Oh God, that's terrible.
And I had to go to firefighting school because there were so many of the ships would catch fire.
Didn't you have a fire on board your boat?
We had several fires because we had some of the holds were insulated with cork, and the guy would weld on one side of the wall, and on the other side would be cork, and he didn't realize there was cork on the other side. And so when he was welding, the cork would then catch fire, and we'd have a fire.
God.
We had several fires of that kind.
Didn't you have one fire when the place was full of bombs?
Right. We were in the Boston Harbor, and we were carrying a whole load of 1,000-pound bombs. We were going to carry them to Iceland. And there was the engine burned lube oil, which is a thick oil, and in order to make it flow, it had to be heated. So there was a lube oil heater in the engine room that would heat up the oil, and before it went into the engine, and the darn thing exploded, and burning oil was all over the engine room, and the ship caught on fire. But we had been trained to put the fire out, and the crew put the fire out, but a fireboat came alongside and some fire engines. But we were able to put the fire out. And the wonderful thing about it, we were at the dock, but not one sailor on the ship left the ship.
They didn't?
No, everybody stayed right on the ship, in spite of the fact they knew that it was full of bombs.
Maybe it was you're threatening them with a 45.
Yeah. And on the trip that we went down, we were traveling with a single escort, and we were sailing parallel to the coast of Nova Scotia, and there were a lot of mines along that coast, because the submarines would put mines along the coast. So we were pulling minesweeping gear, and the minesweeping gear is called paravanes. And the darn thing, something went wrong with it, and it came around and hit the front of our ship and made a hole in it. And then we started taking water in, and it was nighttime and it was very cold, and we sent SOSs to get help. We were able to keep the ship afloat until about 3 o'clock in the morning. A rescue ship came alongside of us, and it was too rough to climb over the other ship, so they towed us into quieter water, where we climbed on the other ship, and our ship sank in 40 feet of water. And then we were taken into Halifax.
How'd you abandon ship? Did you actually have to jump into the water?
No, we climbed, the other ship came alongside and we jumped over.
You jumped over the rail?
Over a rail.
Was your boat?
Well, it was about the same level.
Huh.
The other was a seagoing tugboat, and it was low, and we had the middle part of our ship was fairly low, and they were able to get close together.
Huh.
Our ship was pretty low in the water by that time. In fact, the bow was underwater.
Was it, how long did it take from the start of the accident to the thing going under?
It happened at dinner time around 6 o'clock, and we got off about 3 o'clock. 3 o'clock in the morning, and the ship was going down then. And even after it went down, the top part of the ship was still out of the water.
Did you think you were going to die?
Oh yeah, we were just standing waiting to abandon ship, because at first the ship was on its side, on its right side, and then it started becoming upright, and the bow started to go down. It was very slow. It took hours and hours.
Did you see the movie Titanic?
Yeah.
Did it remind you of that?
Well, we could see the bow going down, and a lot of the guys were getting injured, falling down, slipping, and they kept calling for the doctor. So the laundry room was way at the back of the ship, and that was kind of out of the waves. So the guys that were getting hurt, I was taking them back there and keeping them in the laundry room. And that's where I was spending most of my time. But there's nothing I could do except check them over a little bit. A lot of them had, when we finally got on shore, some of them had broken bones, like fractured Colles fractures and stuff.
Slipping
They
and falling.
slipping and falling.
Were you in your survival suit for the whole time?
No, just toward the end. And the thing, I was so nervous when I was putting it on, I jammed the thing that sealed it up.
The waterproof zipper? Oh no.
I jammed it.
Later on, they raised it up, didn't
They raised the ship right.